So for Gavin Newsom's first podcast, he brings on Charlie Kirk and asks him, Charlie, help me save my career.
Here is why I'm concerned, because you have expressed that I should be concerned as a Democrat, that we're getting clobbered.
Okay. Yes. He openly acknowledges we're just getting crushed. What do I need to do?
You figured something out.
No, it's knowing your enemy and looking at the horizon and understanding what's coming. But anyway, if I were to give you or somebody advice, I'll give you the B and C level stuff, which is very simple.
The feedback Charlie's giving him, the tips, this stuff should be obvious.
You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know,
most
this
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same
You
thing.
didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead, go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice.
Get better ideas, Governor.
At the very setup of the conversation, it strikes me as bizarre. I do think that the dam is about to break. And I think we're going to now see more people do this.
You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men and female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
So
it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak?
So if it was deeply unfair, why did you do nothing about this?
I can see you wrestling with it.
No, I'm not wrestling. I'm not wrestling with the fairness issue. I totally agree with you.
Then why didn't you talk about this sooner?
I completely agree. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
The fact that this is suddenly making headlines shows that you never talked about this before.
Well, you've been governor of California for 6 years. You were lieutenant governor for many years before that. When did you have this epiphany?
I revere sports. And so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue at another level.
Not weaponize.
The claim that they're weaponizing the trans conversation or the trans debate.
That's
well, weaponize may be pejorative. You're right. But you were able to
shine a light on?
Highlight it.
How can we have a conversation about these things if by shining a light on them, we're now weaponizing it?
A Democrat strategist would say, "Oh, Charlie, you're weaponizing stuff." Not you, but like that's a typical thing.
And he's going to do this repeatedly throughout this conversation. The word weaponizing continues to come up.
Why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but you
that
can't
was
clean
you
it up?
guys. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was the most ridiculous. That was you know what? Weaponized. In this case, weaponized. In this case, weaponized.
Can I get this?
Gavin Newsom goes on to acknowledge the stupidity of many of the things that have been done in the past. The question is, why did you do them then?
You asked a good faith question, like how do we Democrats get out of the wilderness?
Yeah.
This one is an 80-20 issue. New York Times poll, right? That's
no,
not
I agree with you. We're getting
part.
crushed on it.
And like
crushed.
When credit where credit's due, at least Gavin Newsom has the intelligence to see that he needs to make a drastic pivot. There's a difference between intelligence and wisdom, and when you remove the facade and a conversation like this occurs, you can see it clearly.
I'm just being honest. Like you could say that, but like maybe you should like convene a special session and say like no more, race-based teaching against white people in the schools of California.
Yeah. They get to critical race theory, and suddenly Gavin Newsom is unable to find this elusive practice.
The CRT stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I was trying to find it. Where is you think we have CRT in K through 12 education?
You have the principles of it.
So
you don't have the elements of
it.
But for example, I mean, it's very simple.
But at least that explains why, because I was trying to find it.
So the big question hovering over this conversation is this authentic?
Here's my advice. If I were giving the governor advice, I'd say, don't be so overt that people can see the wheels turning.
Most politicians know that they are ignoring things that they should not ignore. They probably do have a 13-year-old at home, friends in their life saying, why are you not addressing this stuff?
Even my own friend cohort, people saying, what the hell is going on? Mm-hmm. Why aren't you calling this out?
It's a very good question. And he's going to play this game where, it was an issue before I was even in office.
When did this happen? So in 2014, years before I was governor, there was a law established the legal principles that allow trans athletes in women's sports.
But you're the governor of California, where this was occurring, and you claim it was lunacy.
I do believe that if you guys would have been a little less insane on crime in the summer of 20, you would have completely clobbered us in November of 20.
Yeah, that was lunacy.
But
lunacy.
Governor, I don't want to.
And by the way, you're talking to someone who's never supported the defund police
I'm not saying. I know, but
and I think the reason that Gavin brought Charlie on is because his content has been so impactful with a young audience, and that is what every politician wants.
I've got to admire what you've been able to do. Now, clearly that's expressed by my 13-year-old son.
I want to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Charlie slips in a slick one-liner here.
What time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is
you canceled school for like 2 years. Once one day.
The point is the point.
What makes someone like Gavin Newsom so slippery is the fact that he knows this stuff is common sense. He knows that what Charlie is saying is not extreme or far right.
We think that your side had no message whatsoever and an ideological monopoly. We saw some of the fault lines there.
Notice throughout this thing, Gavin's thumb thing he does. He's always...
And we'll get to that, and I sincerely get to that because I want to stress test some of those fault lines as it relates to the reality of our party and where we are today.
Yeah.
They talk about boycotting. He compares cancel culture to the boycott on Bud Light.
But it's equally insane that people are boycotting Bud Light.
People have the right to not buy a product if they don't like the messaging. The wisdom of that effort will reveal itself as in the end result. The Hogwarts Legacy video game, people tried to boycott that, and what did it do? The boycott was not coming from a place of wisdom. It increased the sales. It became a story within itself.
What we did with Bud Light was just a bunch of decentralized folks doing a good old-fashioned boycott.
Let's go back to Democrats being totally incompetent, incapable of spending 30, let alone 45 to an hour having a conversation broadly on podcasts.
I said you're becoming the exception.
You put yourself in such a foolish place that now it's going to be painful. But he has no other move but to take the hit, burn off the dead wood, say, yeah, this was lunacy.
In the process of becoming.
It's like yet. Becoming Gavin, like becoming Michelle,
geez.
right?
Gavin tries to link book banning as this scandal that's occurring, and Charlie does what you should do in the scenario where he gets specific.
On a serious note, 4,240 books or titles, libraries and schools were banned in 2023.
Because you have to go to the first principle that there are certain things that just don't belong in the classroom. If that comes in the form of a book, that doesn't belong in the classroom. To characterize that as a book ban is a tactic.
Is that not as a conservative?
Well, it depends. I mean, like, I think we can both agree pornography should not be taught to 9-year-olds.
Fair point.
Okay,
fair.
So that's a book ban.
All right.
And Gavin tries to play the same game and do that with the Bible, which backfires. This goes viral.
No porn to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
We agree. So those books should be banned.
Well, okay.
So what we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that
is
include
a book
the Bible?
Ban. Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point.
He's just in such a bad spot, there is no move. And this is the only way out is through. Even a slick salesman can have enough pattern recognition to realize I need to pivot drastically to save my career.
You guys will tend to view an incident through an oppressor-oppressed lens.
Yeah.
It's your training. It comes from college. It comes from, and it's a worldview difference, right?
I get it.
And so
that's why the issue is so much more powerful.
Of course it is, but it's also pattern recognition.
Yeah.
The patterns beneath the surface, which are where people really act out what they think, and that's where the data resides.
It's pattern recognition of a Democrat Party that post-2020 decided to go all in. We call it woke. You might call it, justice or whatever it is.
I get it.
So I guess my question is to you, what are the Democrats going to do about it?
Pivot, burn away the dead wood. And this is going to be painful for anyone in Gavin's position. He's feeling it now. He's getting hate from his side.
It was such an obvious gimmick, right? He needed some headlines to say, Newsom breaks with the left.
Hate from the other side.
I don't think it's legitimate. I don't think it's authentic.
There's no escaping your past. Be more authentic. And he's trying here to do that. You're letting go of part of yourself, what you think is yourself, that foolish part, and that's where wisdom comes from.